Oh, that was a really fluky goal. The long shot came in. We don't care. We take those to... Yeah! He gets in! Hello, welcome back to the channel. Man City have beaten Leicester City 1-0 in the Premier League. Crucial 3 points for City. Potentially tricky fixture, not only just because it's Leicester at Leicester, but also after the international break. You never know what's going to happen. Some very interesting results seem to occur after international breaks, but City have managed to navigate their way to success at Leicester thanks to a goal from Bernardo Silva, the man who potentially wants to leave Man City, but he had a brilliant game today. Spoilers, he was the man of the match. We'll be getting into the individual play ratings for Man City later in the video after the immediate post-match analysis. We actually streamed the game live on Twitch, not illegally. We didn't broadcast the game. I mean, I streamed a watch along of the game over on Twitch, so if you aren't already following me on Twitch, do make sure to do so. It's just twitch.tv/LNobbins. I don't just do Man City watch alongs there, I also do general football watch alongs there, and I also do gaming streams on there as well, and also just general chatting streams. And when the new FIFA and Football Manager comes out, you better believe we're going to be doing a lot of streams over on Twitch, so make sure you're following. So, the game, Man City versus Leicester. I'm actually going to go to some stats because I love stats. And these are the stats for the Leicester City versus Man City game, and they are going to support my assessment of the game. So, as you can see, Manchester City dominated possession, even though they're away from home. You expect them to do that. The XG is infinitely superior to Leicester's. The shots, the chances created, same amount of big chances actually, but you get the idea. Even if you didn't watch the game, looking at the stats, you can tell the Manchester City dominated the actual play. They definitely had more of the ball. They definitely created more chances. The first half especially, Gabriel Jesus had a header, and it was a great save by Schmeichel. It really was. But the cross comes in, and Gabriel Jesus has to score that. He just has to. It's a great save by Schmeichel. Those have to go in. There were at least 2 or 3 more instances in the first half where City just couldn't get the ball into the back of the net. Schmeichel with a couple of decent saves, a couple of good blocks as well, but it just wasn't City's day. They were forced into crossing the ball because Leicester were deploying a low block. They were in 2 banks of 4. They were very deep. It was only really Vardy who was not behind the ball for Leicester, and even then, quite often Vardy was behind the ball. The game plan for Leicester, evidenced by the possession stats, was they didn't care about having possession. They wanted to hit City on their counter-attack, and numerous times that's exactly what they did. And this is a potential foreshadowing for the rest of the season. If City can't sort out their defensive solidity in defensive transition, i.e. when Leicester are attacking on the counter-attack, then City aren't going to win the Premier League, frankly. Maybe that's too far to say, maybe that's too reactionary, but it happened over and over and over again. One ball from Leicester bypassed basically the entirety of Manchester City's midfield, and Leicester were in attacking one of the City fullbacks or one of the City centre-halves, and if they get that right, they're in. And it happened a couple of times. One instance in particular, I mean, Leicester were pretty woeful in the first half, not gonna lie, but the second half, there was this one instance in particular where Cancelo had pushed far up on the left-hand side. One very similar to the Spurs goal actually, where Lucas flipped it over Fernandinho, I think. So Cancelo was caught out. Laporte, by the flick, Laporte therefore had to go to the left flank in order to cover for Cancelo. But then that subsequently flicked over Laporte, so it means that I think it's Jamie Vardy who's got a run in at Ruben Diaz. And then Harvey Barnes is coming over on the left. So it's basically Harvey Barnes and Vardy up against Diaz and Walker. And Diaz is caught out because he's had to cover for Laporte, who had to cover for Cancelo initially. So Diaz is caught out. Walker has to come over to cover the space that Diaz has had to leave, because he has to leave it, otherwise Vardy's going to have a clear run. And because Walker's done that, it means that there's a clear run for Harvey Barnes to come in, and he heads it, and it hits the crossbar, and a better finish obviously would have led to a goal. That started by Cancelo just being caught out, not being in the right position. It meant that because the left back's caught out, left centre back has to go over to the left back. He's then caught out. Right centre back has to go over to the left centre back. He's caught out. Right back has to go over to right centre back, and he's caught out. It means there's no one at right back, and it means that someone like Harvey Barnes can come in, and he should maybe have scored. Maybe it wasn't as good a chance as the Jesus header in the first half, but it did clip the top of the crossbar, and he probably should have been scoring that, and that was Leicester's best chance in the game. And as I say, it just kept happening, even when City reverted to a double pivot later in the game with Rodri and Fernandinho, it was just far too easy for them for Leicester to get in at City with just one or maybe two easy balls. Not really good enough. Leicester's probably the worst team for City to play against because the way City play is very vulnerable to that counter-attack. But fortunately, City were able to win the game, and let's briefly talk about the man of the match, Bernardo Silva, because he was brilliant today. He obviously scored the goal. The goal, you could say, was potentially fortunate. It was a shot outside the box from Cancelo. I think it hit Soyuncu on the way, and then Bernardo was able to not tap it in because it was a more complicated finish than that, but basically just took away the rebound, and City were able to score. That was the only goal in the game, and that is reflected in these player rankings. Bernardo Silva, man of the match. Absolutely. He was also great in the game generally. City were definitely deserved winners in the game. I think had Leicester even got a point from that game, it would have been really unjust on the balance of play. You saw in the stats before, they didn't even get an XG above 1. So City definitely the better side, created more chances, and on the day, the best team won. So let's now move on to the player ratings. These are the player ratings from this particular website, but I don't go with the flow, yeah? I do my own ratings. So let's start at the back. Ederson didn't have too much to do. I think there was one instance where he potentially got caught out by Iheanacho, who was good when he came on, but he was able to recover. They gave him a 7.6. I think that's generous. I'm going to give him a 6.5. Kyle Walker, you could say all of the defence got caught out for that potentially crucial Harvey Barnes chance, but I don't think that was Kyle Walker's fault. I think, as I just touched on before, there was a chain from left to right of fault, so I don't think Kyle Walker was really at fault. And actually, he did put Harvey Barnes under a certain degree of pressure right at the end. I thought Walker played all right. I think a 7's probably fine for him. Ruben Diaz, 7. Laporte, I'll go 7.5, just because there were a couple of instances where he stepped out and was able to prevent an attack from starting when it happened, because Leicester love countering City set pieces, and Laporte was able to snuff them out a couple of times, so that's fine. Cancelo has been given the highest rating of all of the back four and even the goalkeeper, and that's an interesting one to me, because even though he was good offensively, he does, this is the issue with Cancelo, he does get caught out quite frequently at left back. But maybe I'm being harsh, maybe I'm just focusing in on that one instance, so I'll give Cancelo a 7 as well. Gundogan, I think a 7.5. Rodri, I think a 6.5. I think part of the reason why it was so easy for Leicester to just bypass Man City's midfield is because Rodri still hasn't got that element of his game down to a T yet. He also had a silly yellow card in the first half where he stamped, where he went studs onto like the top of the foot of a Leicester player, so a bit silly from him getting a booking really on. Could have been an issue, fortunately it wasn't. Bernardo Silva is the man of the match. I think an 8.5. I'll agree with this website here, 8.5. Definitely fine for Bernardo Silva. Wasn't an absolutely exceptional performance from Bernardo, but he did score the goal. He was dangerous throughout the game, good defensively as well in terms of his pressing. Definitely man of the match. Jesus, this has been his worst game so far, I think, on that right wing for City. Just wasn't his game. He had brilliant games against Norwich and Arsenal. In fact, I gave him glowing praise, and he was my man of the match in both of those games. But today, it was a little bit lackluster. Ball delivery wasn't quite as good. Should have scored that header as well. So I am going to give him a 6 based on that. Torres, similar situation. I am going to give him a 6. Wasn't really anywhere. There was this one glorious opportunity where Gundogan put the ball in because Torres had made a really good run. He'd found himself in between the two centre-halves, timed the run perfectly, and then Gundogan played it. Goalkeeper's coming out. He's got to hit it first time, and he does. And if that's Aguero, or if it's Harry Kane, or someone of that finishing standard, they wrap it around the goalkeeper, and it's in the back of the net, and it's a very easy finish. I feel like I've seen Aguero score that goal a lot. Torres isn't that level yet in terms of finishing. Will he ever be that level? I'm not sure. But again, that just really stuck out in my mind for Torres. Also, he was like hooked off after 60 minutes, so wasn't his day either. But he has played very well against both Norwich and Arsenal, so we'll let him off. And then Grealish, yeah, I'll say a 7.5 for Grealish as well. So overall, good win by City, a deserved win, a very tricky fixture. Leicester, incredibly good side, especially at their stadium, and the way they play football is the nightmare of Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, so very good to get those 3 points. Some things to work on though, the issue of midfield being bypassed too easily. Hopefully Pep can work on that as the season progresses. And yeah, that was the game and my player ratings. Let me know if you like this format of video where I just do an immediate match reaction and the player ratings. And also make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because that really helps me and it will make me happy. Also do make sure to follow the Twitch. We are doing Leeds versus Liverpool in the Premier League, or watch along of that. Come over to the Twitch, come say hi in the chat, come get to know your boy, come talk about football, come talk about whatever you want. Really, we do basically anything and everything on the Twitch chat. But until then, guys, have a lovely day.